Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, I am SendIt Steve. That is obviously the F450. We got the Project Bruce, Betsy, and today we got a little something special. Now we do got a couple other cars and things like that, but today we are going to focus on this truck here. Now this is obviously, as you can tell, a neighbor's truck, and it had happened to blow a brake line. So basically today what we're going to do is we're going to pinpoint where the brake line failure is, which I already went over and looked at it, and I'm going to show you guys, and then we are going to go ahead and repair it probably the most inexpensive way possible. So with no further ado, let's get this thing started. Alrighty guys, well, we have the old brake line out here. Now as you can tell, it is a little longer here. I did account for the bends and everything like that, because right here is actually where it broke and rusted, and the leak was. So there was actually a reinforcement right there, or a clasp to hold it onto the frame. So that is actually why that leaks. If you look up here, this one's actually getting pretty bad too, and probably would be leaking in the next month or so. So basically I made it a little longer. Obviously you can tell a little longer on this end as well, because I have to account for some of the bends that are in here. So I did all this recording last night, but it got dark, and it was actually extremely windy, which is still a little windy today, so not gonna be able to use that footage. But basically this is what goes around the line there, and it ends up causing it to rust underneath there. So I'm going to try to get a rubber isolator and put in between these, so that there's rubber in between instead of metal on metal, and it should prevent it from rusting out. So basically right now I'm going to go ahead and make the brake line into the path that it needs to be here, and then at the end of the video I'll show you guys how to flare a brake line or a brake hose like this. I did record it last night, but it looks absolutely terrible because it was kind of dark, and I was kind of all over the place. So some of these videos, these how-tos and everything like that, they definitely take some time to get involved with and things like that, or I mess them up. So this one here, I ended up waiting another day just to be able to film it so that I can share it with you guys. So if you need to know how to make a brake line, at the end of the video I will show you how to flare the end of a brake hose. So let me get this line in place, and then I will show you guys how we ran it. All right, and from here we got to feed it behind that bracket up and over here, and then it's gonna come above that brake line there, or e-brake line, and then it's gonna start its journey up the frame rail behind the fuel tank here. So let me go ahead and get it fed up through here, and then here we'll have to make like a 90 bend, which will be easy once we get the brake line, you know, fed through where it needs to be. And then it's going to run up along the fuel rail here around the top. I'm not sure if you can see the little hole right there where it bolts, and then it's going to run right up to the master cylinder. So let me go ahead and get this all laid in place, and I'll show you guys how it ended up. All right, you can see the line runs down under here, goes into the factory T-in right here, comes up, makes its 90, goes out across to that bracket, comes under here to that factory location, and then runs its way up. So we've made this look as factory as possible, and the line actually came out perfectly. It might have been about an inch long, but it'll do its job pretty well. So let's wait for this to bleed out, and then we should be good to go. All right guys, I figured I would record this, but I did just put the cap back on. But usually I let this thing self-bleed. I'll leave the cap off, and then I'll go on the back here. Sorry about wind noise. It is actually super windy yet again, but I'll go back here, and right where I put the line in, as you can see it bubbling here, I'll go ahead and crack this open, leave it till it's actually a steady stream running out, and then I will tighten this up, and then we'll go ahead and start bleeding from the bleeders on the rear brakes. So once this is steady fluid again, I will go ahead and close that, and then we will continue our bleeding process. So give this a couple minutes to self-bleed, and we'll be good to go. As you can tell here, I got the line made. It is bolted to the factory location, runs down along the frame where it normally should. I'll go up here and I'll show you up front. right, so basically I went ahead and got everything back together, and then I could tell on the clamp here on the old unit, it was actually leaking down below in another spot. So I went ahead, once I got it all pressurized and everything like that, I could see it like slowly dripping down the hose that was up here, and I was like, what the heck is that? So I brake cleaned it off real good, and lo and behold, like on the metal piece here, it was actually so rusty that it actually broke. So I went ahead and just got a new brake hose for there, and then we, you know, added it into the new line. So now it's time to bleed. Now I will show you a trick too as to how you can bleed brakes by yourself, because I'm sure some of you at home are like, oh, well, I need a friend to help bleed brakes. You don't. You can do it all at home, all by yourself. So let me get out and I will show you a trick up underneath the truck. And for the real do-it-yourselfer such as myself, obviously, you know, I do everything by myself. Basically what you'll use is some kind of rod here to when you go to bleed the brakes, and then you'll just come underneath here and you can crack the bleeder open. And now you don't want to go the whole way as if you have a person in there, because you don't want that rod to fall, but you just do it slow and steady. Now anybody that knows how to bleed brakes will actually be able to take their time, but crack the bleeder. And yes, I use a cheap Harbor Freight for brake fluid because I don't want to destroy a snap-on ratchet. So keep doing this till you get all the air out of it, and you should be good to go. All right, now as you can tell, I did go ahead and bleed both sides there, so we are good to go. Now I will let my neighbor go ahead and drive it and make sure he, you know, feels comfortable on the brakes and everything, but everything looks good. You know, he's got practically an all rebuilt brake system at this point. I guess last week his other brakes went out on him a couple weeks ago, and somebody went ahead and made whole new brake lines up there. So short of the rubber hoses and things like that, he is good to go, back in shape and ready to rock and roll. So before I kick this off, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to make a brake line for one, and I'm going to, obviously you want to double check your fluid before you send him out of here. So let's double check the fluid, and then I will show you guys now how to go ahead and flare a line like this. And because I know how the internet works, if I don't show you, you won't believe me. But we got his fluid all topped off. He is ready to rock and roll. Now I'll let him take it for a drive and make sure everything's good. I'll probably take it for a quick spin, but everything seems good from being in there. And I always usually leave like the pedal depressed for, you know, 20 minutes before I say it's all good to go. That way you can check to see if there's any leaks or anything like that. Everything appears to be solid. There's no leaks, no drips, no nothing like that. So we're good to go. Let's get the cap back on here and get this thing over to the neighbor. So first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure you get a nice clean edge that you're going to want to cut on. You're not going to want to cut on an edge like that. It won't make a good flare. But once you get a good one, you'll be good to go. So you take your flare, thread it on the correct direction. I'm telling you, if you are going to forget this step at least once in the 20 brake lines that you make, or if you only ever make one, maybe you won't forget it. But if you make more than one, you're probably going to forget this step. But you go ahead and toss that on there. Then you'll go over here, and on your tool, you'll see it says 1/2 inch, 7/16, 5/16, 1/4 inch, 3/16, 3/8, 5/8. This is a 1/4 inch line. So you're going to use that fitting, and you're going to go ahead and get it in here. But here's where you're not going to tighten it up, guys. There is an actual trick to this and a method that I don't know if some of you don't know, but this is the flaring tool. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to flip this upside down, and as you can tell here, you want this to be about that distance. So I'm not sure how well you can see it there. See how it's about the same distance of the butt of the tool there. Oh, it slipped out. Not a big deal. But see how it's about there? That is where you're going to want to tighten it down. I usually try to lay it with one hand and then go ahead and get it snug. Go ahead and snug the other side. Sorry if my hands are in the way. But you can then see from this angle that that's about where you're going to want it. So then you go ahead. I'm going to take this off so I don't drop it. You're going to go ahead and crimp your tool closed onto the line. There you go. As you can tell, it's crimped. Then you will take the piece that you just took off, and this vise or press, whatever you want to call it, you'll back that out. This will then go in there in the line. This will wrap around the line. Get this centered up on here. Then you want to go ahead and turn it kind of cocky. You want to make it as straight as possible too, guys. It is kind of hard to do while filming and making it perfect, but you want to get this as straight as possible. A bad flare will leak. So once you get it about as straight as it can be, as you can tell there, it is pretty straight all the way around. And now you'll go ahead and begin to compress it, making the flare. See how it stays pretty much nice and flat the whole way around? You don't want it to be crooked, because if you make it crooked, your flare is going to leak. Hands down, not going to ask twice. Go ahead and crimp it down to where it's flush, nice and flat, as you can see. Then you back this out. Make sure, you can see how I got my thumb on that piece. Make sure you keep your thumb on there, because you will lose this. It will fall in the stones or your workshop, wherever, and you will lose it. But as you can tell, you got your first flare on there. Then you take this one down through the center. This one will pretty much self-center itself, but you want to obviously make it as straight as possible. Pretty much will center itself, and then you go. Now you don't have to go too crazy over tight, but you definitely want to make it tight. Bam, now you are flared and ready to rock and roll, guys. As you can tell, you take your tool off and you can go ahead and loosen this, because you are ready to rock and roll, ready to stop whatever you're hooking this up to. So comes out, flip it out, and bingo bango, SendIt Steve is the man-o. That you'll have to wiggle up and on, because obviously you crimp some teeth in it to hold it, but that'll go up. You'll have to grab a thing, but there you guys go. There is your flare. You are ready to rock and roll. Good to go. So if anybody has any questions, you can send me a DM on Instagram, things like that. I will try to help you as best I can. But these tools, I think I paid like 70 bucks through Snap-on, 74 bucks or something like that. Or you can go to Harbor Freight. I think they're probably less than 30. They're probably half the price they are at Snap-on, but either one will do the trick. So there you have it, guys. If you like the content, I thank you for sticking around until the end. If you like the content, guys, please go ahead and smash that like button. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next upload. Now, we are getting the C5 back together, and we are going to start making the brake lines on the Bruce. That's why I was able to go ahead and make this for you guys in plain sight. But definitely smash that like button. Please subscribe, and we will see you in the next upload. And just like that, another one done. What a cool truck.